Hey, I'm Dr. Juan Valdez with Reasons for Hope, and I'm glad to be with you again today to discuss the third reason why I'm not an atheist. This is a series of 5 short talks about or short responses to the question of why I'm not an atheist. The premise is that atheism continuously argues, and you read it in their books, that if you read the Bible, you're going to become an atheist. If you listen to their arguments, you will become an atheist. If you really look at the facts, you'll become an atheist. Well, I've done all of that. I've read the Bible, I've looked at the facts, I've read their books, their arguments, and I'm still a theist. So here's the third reason why I'm not an atheist. I'm not an atheist because it is ethically unviable. You cannot support the foundations of ethics and morality on atheism. There's nothing to support it with. In an atheist worldview, man is the ultimate authority. Think about that for a minute. Man is the ultimate authority. If there is no one greater than man, no one above man, then who can tell us what to do? Who can establish authority beyond mankind? None. Nobody. So we become the ultimate authority. We decide what's right and wrong. And at that point, we fall into a terrible relativism or an authoritarian dictatorship kind of morality. Whereas either everyone decides for themselves what's right and wrong, or a select few decide for everybody else what's right and wrong. But there's no real foundation outside of man for what morality is. And that is not the way reality works. That's not what corresponds with reality. In an atheist worldview, there is no absolute moral standard to which man must adhere. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that an atheist cannot be moral. I'm not saying an atheist cannot live a moral life. I'm not saying an atheist can't be good. What I'm saying is that there's no foundation upon which to establish what is right and wrong, what is good and bad from an atheist worldview. And I'm not making this up. This is what atheists say when you read their materials. For example, I'll quote Richard Dawkins to you. Richard Dawkins, in his book, A Devil's Chaplain, admits that you cannot get ethics from science. He says science has no methods for deciding what is ethical. I agree with him. Then in River Out of Eden, he writes that there is no good and evil. There is no good, ultimate good or bad. There's no ultimate moral standard to which we all must subject. He says it this way. He says, the universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if at bottom there's no design, no purpose, no evil and no good. Nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. In other words, he's telling us there is no good and evil. There is no objective morality. There's no code to which we all must submit. Therefore, you've taken away the foundation of human morality. Atheism, far from providing an adequate answer for morality, it dissolves the answer. And it's not a new problem. This problem has been around for centuries. So how can something mindless and impersonal like the universe impose a sense of morality on us? Where did our morality come from? How could a mindless, senseless, impersonal universe establish a moral code for us to live by? David Hume, the famous skeptic philosopher, he got it. He understood this real well. He said that you just cannot get an ought from an is. Is fact, nature. What we discover with science is fact. Science gives us facts, observations, but you cannot get an ought, what we should do or not do, from what we observe and what we see, what is. You cannot, and he was a skeptic philosopher telling us this. You cannot derive morality and ethics from matter and energy. You cannot go from facts to values. That's just established. Now, John Paul Sartre, another famous atheist, says in one of his works, through one of his characters, he says the following: when he discovered or he realizes that there is no God and he embraces atheism, here's what he says: suddenly, freedom crashed down upon me and swept me off my feet. Nature sprang back. My youth went with the wind, and I knew myself alone, utterly alone, in the midst of this well-meaning little universe. Listen well what he says. And there was nothing left in heaven, no right or wrong, nor anyone to give me orders. In other words, I'm on my own. There's nothing that I have to do. I do whatever I want. Dostoevsky was very perceptive. The Russian novelist and philosopher said that if God does not exist, then everything is permissible. Now, he's not saying that atheists can't be good. He's not saying that people can't be good or bad. What he's saying is that there's no foundation for morality, because when you eliminate God, you've removed that foundation. And Nietzsche agreed with him. Now, please notice, I'm quoting Sartre, I'm quoting Dawkins, I'm quoting Nietzsche, I'm quoting Hume. Everyone I'm quoting is a skeptic atheist. And they're the ones telling you, look, in atheism, there's no foundation for morality. Now, Nietzsche took it a step further. Nietzsche realized that the moral code that we live in as a world stems from Christianity. And when you eliminate the Christian God, you've eliminated that moral code. Listen to how he says it. He says, when one gives up the Christian faith, one pulls the right to Christian morality out from under one's feet. This morality is by no means self-evident. Christianity is a system, a whole view of things that thought out together. By breaking one main concept out of it, the faith in God, one breaks the whole. It stands or falls with faith in God. That's an honest atheist telling you, look, we can't get rid of God and continue to use Christian morality as our source of morality, as our foundation for morality, because it doesn't work. It all comes or goes with God's existence. Now, how does this work out in everyday life? Nietzsche helped us with that. Listen to the natural outworking of morality in the words of Nietzsche. He says, equality is a lie concocted by inferior people who arrange themselves in herds to overpower those who are naturally superior to them. The morality of equal rights is herd morality. And because of it opposes the cultivation of superior individuals, it leads to the corruption of the human species. Let me say that again. He says equality is a lie concocted by inferior people who arrange themselves in herds to overpower those who are naturally superior to them. The morality of equal rights is herd morality. And because it opposes the cultivation of superior individuals, it leads to the corruption of the human species. This is Atheism 101 from one of the greatest proponents of atheism. And he's telling you, look, this whole idea of equal rights, you see, the American view that we are all endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that's all baloney, Nietzsche is saying. That's herd mentality. That's just to keep the people that are inferior from being wiped out by the superior people. And so, does that sound familiar to you? It should sound familiar. Because there was some guy out there in Germany who read this and said, man, this is exactly what I need to work with. And he wrote a book called Mein Kampf. And in Mein Kampf, he took Nietzsche's ideas and developed them to the nth degree. Listen to what Hitler wrote in Mein Kampf. Based on Darwin's idea that there is no God behind creation, Nietzsche's taking that idea and applying it to the realm of morality, and now Hitler taking that and applying it to society in general. He says, if nature does not wish that weaker individuals should mate with stronger, she wishes even less that a superior race like the Germanic race should intermingle with an inferior like the Jewish race. Why? Because in such a case, her efforts throughout hundreds and thousands of years to establish an evolutionary higher stage of being may thus be rendered futile. And everyone knows where that led to. The concentration camps today are still evidence of what morality without God looks like. It's man-made morality, and we are capable of doing incredibly wicked things, as history has clearly shown us. So in an atheist worldview, man is the ultimate authority. In an atheist worldview, there is no absolute moral standard to which a man must adhere. Only in a theistic worldview does morality make sense. Only in a theistic worldview does justice make sense. So no, I'm not an atheist because it is ethically unviable. In an atheist worldview, there's no ultimate authority. There's no foundation for morality. And when we see the outworking of this atheistic code, whatever that looks like, it's very unpleasant. So no, that's why I'm not an atheist. I'm Dr. Juan Valdez, and I'll see you again next week.